What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing the end of week market update. Sealed product singles and slabs over $1,000. Starting with sealed product, we actually have the treasure boosters set showing up for probably the first time in like the past 3 months that we've been doing these. People ask me about the treasure boosters a lot, and I figured it would be a great time to address it. I'm not a huge fan of these, but I do think there is some nuance. For example, if you're building a very large position in One Piece, 50, $100,000, maybe even smaller than that, like $20,000, I don't think it's terrible to put a small percentage of your portfolio into something like this, just in the event that there isn't a ton of these sealed products on the market in the future and you get value out of it that way. But when you look at what this is, and you don't know exactly what packs you're getting inside, there could be anything from Romance Dawn up to, I believe, OPO5, Awaken the New Era. So you're basically investing into the worst set. You're only as strong as the weakest link. In this case, that would probably be Pillars of Strength or Kingdoms of Intrigue, maybe Paramount War, but they're all fairly poor in my opinion. That's why I just don't like products like this that much. But again, little percentage of your portfolio, I think it's fine, especially if you are planning to put mid to high five figures into One Piece investing. Now, moving on, we have the first anniversary set here in English. This sold $1,525. This seems extremely high because this was at what, like $900, $1,000 a week ago. Maybe some of these got bought during the TCG player sale, which is still ongoing, by the way. But yesterday, Friday, was the first day, and that's kind of the big day where most of the products move. So maybe that was going on there. Maybe some people are now moving to eBay trying to find the deals, but still, this product just continues to move upwards. We also had a white bottom booster box. This sold $1,530 USD. Multiple of these are selling. This is definitely on the higher end, so I am cherry picking a little bit here. I think I saw sales as low as like $1,430, maybe even $1,400. But I think it's fair to say gone are the days of the $800, $900, $1,000 white bottom booster boxes. Maybe if you're in Asia or some other part of the world, but definitely not North America. We're just not seeing it anymore. We had a case here, OP13. This sold $2,600 USD. I think the lowest listed case on TCG Player, which by the way, if you're in the spreadsheet, I did the first update of the One Piece booster box cases today. I was actually planning initially to do just eBay data, but there are almost no sales on eBay, even when you look worldwide and you do auctions and buy it now. So I'm actually just going to be using TCG Player to track that entire update. Outside of if there's ever a box that doesn't have any listings, we'll go to eBay and just check. But OP13 just continuing to move up in price, and I just can't imagine that this is going to get much cheaper, even if a second wave comes. It seems like there are just so many people with money on the sidelines right now looking to get their hands on OP13 that even if product hits, it's going to get scooped up very quickly. Now, after that, we had a case of OPO5 sell, $5,500. I think there was another one that sold 6K or best offer. I don't know exactly what that went for, but I did want to throw that out there. We also had a blue bottom booster box sell, and this is kind of an interesting example here. So this went for 5,599 euros, which is approximately 64.93, 64.94 USD, or best offer. And when I put it into 130 point, it says it sold for 5,599 USD. That kind of sounds about right, but again, we've been having issues with 130 point where the currency isn't correct. So it's kind of coincidental for it to be saying that it sold for the exact same price in USD as it was listed for in euros. So maybe this did just sell for full asking price, because we've seen this happen multiple times, and you'll actually see it later on in the video with some of the cards. But either way, even if it did sell in USD, $5,600 for a mint blue bottom booster box with an acrylic case. Crazy, guys. You could have been buying these for $1,000 or less at the start of 2025. PRBL1, we had a couple cases sell. This one went for 8K or best offer. In 130 point, it looks like it sold for 6,800 USD. That was on Wednesday, the 26th of November. We also had a sale today on the 29th at $8,000 USD, and I believe that was an auction that went there. So PRBO1 just continuing to move up in price, not really surprising considering the buyout we saw over the past couple days on TCG Player. And then the final sealed item on the list this week, we have a lot of 17 booster boxes. This includes an OPO1 blue bottom booster box. This sold for $11,000 USD. I'm not a huge fan of selling your product this way. The reason why is because you have a very small buyer pool that wants to get one of every box. Realistically, people, when they go on eBay or they go on TCG Player, etc., they're normally only looking for maybe one or two boxes at most. So what ultimately ends up happening is that you either have to wait a very long period of time to sell your listing, or you have to take a certain percentage of market value that is not going to be full market value, as the person buying it in that case is probably just going to try and part it out, and they'll try and get full market value for everything, make a little bit of money, and move on. So the best way of selling product, just list your individual box, wait for it to sell, make another listing for the other items, and then that's how you do it, at least in my opinion. Now, before we get into the singles and slabs, I did want to jump in here and say, if you guys are enjoying the video, I'd really appreciate if you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps out a ton getting the videos pushed to more people. Also, if you guys are looking to take your TCG investing to the next level, I do have the link to my market spreadsheet at the top of every video description. And for the people really looking to win in this hobby, I do have consultation calls if you guys need extra help to get the edge on everyone else. So moving into the singles and slabs today, we're starting off with a Nami SP from OPO9, 1,185 USD or best offer in a PSA 10. It looks like this went for exactly $1,000 USD. I believe that this is an all-time high sale on this card. It's crazy that these cards that were going for what, like 400-500 USD in a PSA 10 have basically doubled over the past couple months. And now we are starting to see fairly consistently SPs showing up in the 4 digits, and you'll see a couple more later on in the video. We have a couple more SPs here to get through. This Nami OPO5 SP in a PSA 10 went for $1,025. This seems high to me because normally this card raw is selling less than this Nami SP. And I think the last time we saw this SP show up in a 10, it went for maybe like $800 or something, $750. So the fact it's jumped up to over $1,000, crazy sale here. And we have one more Nami. Did I miss one here actually? Maybe not. We'll skip over it here in a second. But the Vivi First Championship card, 1,400 USD or best offer. It went for $1,150. We don't see the Vivi Championships card show up too often. They're not a super common card out there. The back of this, by the way, I didn't take a really close look at it, but I guess it looks all right. Maybe the person buying this will plan on grading it. I do imagine that these are kind of just like specs from the sleeve or whatever. And then the other Nami I was talking about here, BGS 10 Black Label Japanese version of that OPO9 Nami, 974 approximately pounds sterling or best offer. That's about 1289 USD. In 130 point, it looks like it sold for 937 USD, but again, this is kind of where I think 130 point is messing up the currency, because if we go back here and look, the original listing price was 973.81 pounds sterling, and that's what it apparently sold for in USD. I imagine this sold for full asking price here, which would be approximately $1,289 USD. So these SPs, even the Japanese versions, getting expensive. And I think there's one more SP of Miss Boa Hancock showing up later in the video. Jewelry Bunny Manga BGS 10, $1,225 through PSA. This again is one of the higher sales this week, so I am cherry picking a little bit here. I saw this card sell as low as I think $1,100 or $1,150. That might have been in a PSA 10 though. The BGS 10s do seem to have a premium at this point. We have the Nami here. This is from the 2025-2026 championship. Top 64 card, $1,376 in a PSA 10. Marshall D. Teach. This is the manga from OPO9. This in a tag 10. We don't see a ton of tag cards showing up here, but it went for $1,425. And side note, I actually really like the tag slabs just because They're very minimalistic and simple in my opinion, and I like the fact that they got the QR code and everything on there. So yeah, big fan of the look of those. I don't know too much about tag cards, honestly, and I think when it comes to trying to offload product, it is going to be more difficult to sell a tag slab. And also CGC slabs, I mean, those just are not as common. People don't want them. They're not super desirable compared to the PSA and BGS graded cards. Now, after that, I did want to throw in one vintage card this week. I had someone reach out to me on Discord and ask me to include this. So this is a rare print error, horizontal print error. I don't actually know what's going on here. Somebody can definitely let me know. Kobe, if you're watching this, definitely feel free to leave some insight. But this is the Luffy in Japanese from 1999 Hyper Battle, 2000 Canadian or best offer. It looks like it sold for 1,550 USD. But again, I imagine that's probably just going to be Canadian. So that's pretty close to 1,000, maybe like 1,100 USD. Moving on, we have the Gear 4 Luffy manga in English, PSA 10, $1,600, continuing to creep up there. We have the Buggy from OP09 in a PSA 10, $1,825. I think at one point we saw sales up to like 2,600 on this card. That did kind of seem like a little bit of an outlier, but still, it's in that 1,800-1,900 range fairly consistently at this point. We also have the Luffy from the OP13 Treasure Campaign Pack in a PSA 10, 2,500 US or best offer. According to 130 Point, it sold for 1,900 USD. So very expensive card. Speaking of expensive cards, we're now breaking in to that 2K level. The Ace from OP13, the regular manga, $2,025. Boa Hancock manga from OP07. This is a BGS 10, so not a PSA version. $3,000 or best offer. And this one actually sold for 2,700 USD. So again, this might be an all-time high on this card. I know we've seen PSA 10 copies sell for 2.2K. I think if we go back here and look and we scroll down a little bit, we have had the BGS 10 copies sell for about $2,500 and black labels selling for $5,000 USD way back at the end of September. But the regular BGS 10 copy is definitely moving up in price. And then another Boa Hancock here. This is the SP from OP04, Kingdoms of Intrigue, BGS 10 black label, 3,000 US or best offer. This went for $2,720. And you can see this card actually sold last week, and it was in last week's video, $2,650. I don't know what's going on here, if the buyer just sent out an offer and then they didn't actually pay. Either way, this week it went for an extra $70. So I'm sure the seller is quite happy about that. Then we have a BGS 10 Black Label English version, J. Garcia Saturn. This is from the Demon God pack in English and OP13, $2,850. This might be like pop 1 or 2 at this point, probably a fairly rare card still. We have Serialized Ace in English. This is number 582 out of 1,000. This went in a PSA 10 for $3,000 USD. And you can see here, PSA 10 pop 73, total pop is 89. And we're just getting started here, guys. Sanji BGS 10 non-black label, $3,211. That's a little bit cheaper than what we've been seeing it in the prior weeks. We have the Shanks. This is the gold SP from OP13, $3,250. So a fairly expensive card out the gate. And then following that, we have the Shanks manga from Romance Dawn, $3,700 or best offer. In 130 Point, it did sell 3.4K. This, I'm not sure if it's an all-time high, but if it's not, we are fairly close to one on the Shanks. I'm kind of surprised that the Shanks manga and the Ace from Paramount War haven't moved more than they have over the past couple months, especially considering where basically every other manga has gone to. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Shanks in the near term gets towards like $4,000, $4,500. I think that is entirely plausible. Gear 2 Luffy in English. This is from EBO2 PSA 10, 3.45K USD, $3,450. We have the OP09 Luffy card here in a PSA 10, the manga, 3.5k USD. This is almost certainly an all-time high sale on this card, and honestly, it kind of seems a little bit high to be a legit sale because I don't know, maybe I'm just misremembering things, but I could have sworn that just a couple weeks ago, this was selling for like $2,600 USD. So this seems like a fairly large jump for this card to be making in a very short period of time. And I also always start to question now what is going on with PSA auctions because, I mean, everyone's seen the 100K Red Luffy sale. There have been multiple other sales through the PSA Vault where I just look at it and I question what's going on because they finish so much higher than some of the smaller sellers when they put items up. So it's kind of turning into Probstein 2.0, I feel. But either way, we still have to include them in the video because they are relevant auctions that affect the future pricing of the card. We also had a chopper here show up, PSA 10, $3,550 USD. We do not see chopper show up in most of these videos. And you can see here the PSA 10 pop is only 562 on this. Total pop is 593. So very low compared to a lot of the other manga cards. And that's why we see a fairly hefty price point on the chopper. We also had serialized shanks here in English. This in a PSA 10 went for $3,571.30. You can't forget the 30 cents, guys. That is very important. PSA 10 pop, 213, total pop, 227. And then we have the Zoro manga from OP06, PSA 10, $4,200. That is definitely another all-time high record sale for the regular PSA 10. I think there's going to be a black label showing up later in the video. And again, this is one of those auctions that it finished through PSA. It's a lot higher than what we've been seeing, which was around like 3,000, 3.2K. And I think there are probably listings on the market in that range as well. So I don't know why we're finishing over 4 now, but we do have to include it in the video. And by the way, I could be totally off base with what's going on here. Like maybe all the sellers who had PSA 10 copies of this have just taken them off the market. I don't actually check every single listing right before I do these videos. So that could be entirely plausible. And I do want to just throw that out there for people who feel like I'm just kind of pushing an agenda. But following that up, we have the Serialized Luffy, another serialized card, a lot of them showing up this week. This is the less expensive one out of 1,000. This sold for $4,300 USD through STF Gaming, and they are out of New Hampshire in the United States. Pre-Rata Luffy, $4,555 USD in a PSA 10. This card is continuing to pull back in price. I think I saw a sale as low as like 3.6K this week. So definitely nowhere near the all-time high, which I believe was around $10,000 USD. We also had the Ichiroda stamped card from OP05 show up, and this Monkey D. Luffy sold for 5.75K USD. And again, this is a card that was up to about $10,000, so it's pulled back a lot over the past couple months. Gold Luffy here, the SP from OP11, $6,950 USD or best offer. Looks like a best offer of 6.2K USD was taken. That's been fairly stable over the past couple weeks. We also have Red Manga Sabo from OP13 in English, $7,000 or best offer in a BGS 10, and this sold for 6.2K as well. So very expensive cards, and you can see why there is so much demand for OP13. And then after that, we have a Goldie Roger BGS 10 non-black label, 8,700 euros or best offer, and it looks like it sold for 7,000 USD. But again, I think that this is a currency error, and this is 7,000 euros, which would be approximately $8,200 USD, something like that. And if you guys do know, like if you were the seller or buyer of this card, definitely feel free to leave a comment down below. But I'm pretty sure that's what's going on with 130 Point, and they just haven't updated their system yet. Then we have the BGS 10 Black Label Zoro that we talked about, 7,400 USD through ZNG Emporium. This seems low considering we just saw a PSA 10 sell for 4.2K, and generally we see somewhere between a 2 to 2.5x multiple on the BGS 10 Black Label compared to the PSA 10. So If that 4.2K sale is legit, we should see this somewhere between like 8.4 and I don't know, 10.2K USD, something like that. So somebody got a deal there. Then we also have the Gear 5 Luffy PSA 10, $7,525. Multiple of these sell on a weekly basis. And also, I'm going to put it out there, not the best photos. You have some glare on the label. You have a less desirable background than I think most people would want. But hey, this person does have 3140 feedback with 100% positive rating. So who am I to judge? We have a God Pack here, and I believe these are all PSA 10s. Is a sequential as well? Yes, it is. So the Demon God Pack, sequential PSA 10, $7,950.95. I still believe that this is the way to go. If you pull a God Pack, try and sell it as a lot. There will be less people out there that want the entire God Pack compared to just some of the individual cards, but I think that's how you're going to get top dollar for them. And especially if you are selling it as a sequential set, PSA 10s kind of seems like the no-brainer play. Then we have a BGS 10 Black Label Nami here, $8,200 USD. We also have a BGS 10 Black Label. This is the Luffy Dodgers promo, $9,400 USD. Huge premium here on the Black Label. I can't imagine it's a very high pop. We're seeing the PSA 10s now selling somewhere between like $1,400, maybe even as low as like $1,200 up to around $1,600. It's pulled back a little bit after the World Series, but still that's like a 5 to 7x multiple, something in that range. We have BGS 10 Black Label Luffy. This is the reprint from PRBO 115,000 or best offer. It looks like a best offer of 10.5K USD was taken. And then one more Black Label here, maybe two more. This is the Marshall D. Teach from OP12, the gold version, $11,600 through Z&G Emporium. And then finally, the last item on the list this week, we have a One Piece TCG Championship 2024 top prize, OP08, OP09, uncut sheet. Lots of awesome cards in here. You have the Ace SP and the Bonnie SPs from '08. You have the Silver's Rayleigh manga, the Buggy manga, the Luffy manga, the Shanks, the Blackbeard. You also have Zoro Juro, Nami, and Boa Hancock from OP09. Down here, these are probably some alternate arts, just regular super rares. I'm not exactly sure. And then up top, it looks like you have some of the alt leaders or alternate art cards. So very cool uncut sheet. 20,000 or best offer. It did indeed go 15,000. There were actually two of them, I believe, that sold this week at 15K. But I think that this is just the same listing that happened to sell twice. But either way, still a very expensive sale and a very awesome rare piece that I'm sure somebody will love to have in their collection. So that's really all I want to get to today, guys. I think the main takeaway from this video, which is just us continuing on from last week, is that sealed product is continuing to run, especially a lot of the top items like the blue bottom booster boxes, but also some of the cheaper sealed items like the first anniversary set up to 1.5K and continuing to climb. Very exciting times in the One Piece hobby. If you guys did enjoy the video though, I really would appreciate the like on the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below for the algorithm. I hope you're having a great weekend. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.